Hi, how are you?
Good.
How did it go with your frost the last couple nights?
Wow, it was tough, huh?
Yeah, I saw.
We had a minus. It went down to -4 in some places. We fight was tough on the Chapelle vineyard. We went down -3, but the worst was the length of this frost was quite long. We start at 1 a.m. till 8. We had
Oh
-2,
my
-3. It was
God.
really quite an unusual frost, but outside that, the plateau was okay. No
So
troubles at all.
normally how long does the frost last? Like how many hours?
It depends really. We
Yeah.
know that usually the frost, the worst impact are usually when the sun rise. So around
Ah,
6 a.m.,
okay.
5 a.m. When the sun rise,
Yeah,
the temperature decrease quite strongly, and then we need to eat quite more. But
yeah.
the weather forecast shows that we had a big cold temperature coming from north side of Europe, going
Hmm.
down south, and suddenly the temperature by 3 a.m. on Tuesday night decreased quite deeply with some little wind. So, and the night was very clear, no cloud at all.
Yeah,
So
crazy.
was really crazy, really tough. I know that in some other places in the Grave region was really bad, Sauternes also, but I heard in Burgundy, Chablis, and Loire Valley, but also in the Rhône
Yeah.
and even in
Wow.
Provence.
It was bad in Italy too, by the way. I heard
Oh,
from
really?
Tuscany. Yeah. So this is pretty. Did you lose anything?
So far, it's difficult to make a countdown because we are preparing for next week. The forecast are we're going to have a freezing night from Monday till Tuesday.
Shit. I'm so sorry.
There's nothing else to do. It's we face the climate change, and now we see that every year such freezing impact are coming back since almost every year now. Last year,
Yeah.
at the same period, we had to eat fires in the vineyard was the 3rd of April. 2019, we had some frost. 18, 17, of course, everybody remember that.
Yeah.
So let's see the countdown, the final result of for Croix de Labrie damage. Let's say around 20%, I think. But we need to wait because it's still early April. So let's see.
One thing I noticed is a number of people, which is interesting. Just I haven't seen people comment negatively where they're saying, "Oh, this is really bad. All these people using um, pots with paraffin or diesel. Is there any other way of doing it?
Well, the
We have
problematic is,
fans, water.
alors, fans, we use fans, but even though there is in some places they had fans plus candles, but even with all of those tools, it was not
Mhm.
enough because the
Wow.
temperature decreased down to 5 degrees Celsius in some places, so there is nothing else you can do. Water sprinklers, that could be
Yeah.
the great idea, but the problematic of that is that you need to bring the water to the vineyards places. You need to have water nearby. So
Uh,
if you don't have any water nearby, so you need to do something else. So it's not so easy. I
yeah.
understand people complaining about that,
Yeah.
but it's not only the vineyard, it's all the agriculture. It's the same matters of fact at this period of the year. I understand the environmental problems that could engage, but we
Yeah.
talked with the neighborhoods and they understand also. It's part of our work. We need to save our production. Outside that, there is nothing else to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, good luck with next week.
Well, there is nature is always well made, or sometimes not
Do
really
you?
well, but we need to fix with the nature. It's like this.
Yeah. Well, bon courage.
Merci, c'est gentil.
Okay, so let's talk about something more pleasant, like the 2020, which, like I've tasted about 100 wines already, barrel samples, and I have to say I'm really impressed. The wines look to be on the same quality level as 18 or 19, and I know that you had a very good growing season with rain when it should be. It was hot and dry in the summer, but you had plenty of rain before. Tell me a little bit your impression of 2018.
I think 2020 is, as you said.
2020.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of well. I think it's a combination of 2018 and 2019 in the same time. It could be a trilogy, as we said, but the weather condition was quite very interesting in 2020. Of course, all of us will remember what's happened in the world in last year and still actually. But outside that, the winter time was quite not really cold, but a lot of rain, really, really deep rain. I think a little bit higher compared to 2018 season.
That's
outside
right.
that, yeah. And we were quite a little bit afraid with the mildew pressure that we could face. And we had to face this high pressure level on mildew and disease. And then early April, where we were indeed in that time in the in the problematic of the confinement, lockdown everywhere. And we had some frost early April. And then the season started to be very soft and soft temperature, not really cold after that. A lot of rain, really deep rains. So the mildew pressure was quite intense in places. But we saw that I think most of the organic estates certified went better compared to some others. And then the flowering season was just amazing. The rain stopped. It was the flower has been done in 4 or 5 days, so it was quite fast in the way. And then the temperature and the weather changed drastically. We face a very dry summertime with very high temperatures, above 35, 38 degrees for weeks. So we see now, it's like if you have a not tropical season, but it could be a mix of continental and oceanic climate mixed together. So we have quite a wet and humid season during the spring, the winter and the spring. So for the terroir like us with clay and limestone, it's fantastic because it's just amazing. Yeah, it keep it. And then during the summertime, it was really, really, really deeply hot, crazy. And we faced big hailstorms. So that we need also to fight against that.
Bloody hell.
Wow, really the climate change. If people don't think about that, we see that deeply. But this growing season in summer was just great. It was so hot that the vineyard and the grapes can have a good maturation and ripening season. And then before September and end of August, we had few rains so that, to finish the maturation of the grape. The growing season was earlier compared to 2019. We had at least a week earlier, but September is like the end of the marathon. And we had, during the days, the temperature was around 25 degrees, but the nights were just really cool. So we had like 12 degrees, 10 degrees. So it was just perfect. Really.
Oh my God, perfect.
So we decide when we crunched the grapes with Axel and Hubert de Bois came with us to taste also the fruits. When we were crunching the Merlot, we were having like the highs, like kids, wow,
In a
my
candy
gosh,
shop.
it's just the acidity, the purity of the fruit, everything was there. It was unbelievable, never achieved. So we decide to focus. I think the key of the vintage, for our opinion, is due to those changes on the climate, is really to keep in mind not to harvest too overripe.
Yeah.
And try to focus. That's what we think, to really keep the freshness into the wine, which is very, very important. So we decided to focus on the early harvest. So we start the harvest, it was the 16th of September. And compared to the other vintages, it was 10 or 3 weeks earlier. If we compare with 2016, in 16 we started, it was early October, and now we are starting 16th of September.
Wow.
And the harvest has been done, well, let's say within, we finished on the 27th of September. So after we had quite some rain, so it was really helpful for the Cabernet, so that we gain in terms of volume, and the Cabernet gain in terms of purity and density. So I would say 2020 vintage, indeed, people will keep in mind the 10s, etc. But from our opinion, it's a perfect conjunction in between 18 and 19. I would say it's 18 and 19 all together, plus I think a nice and beautiful intensity and freshness into the wine.
And was the alcohol slightly lower than 18 and 19?
Yeah. We are at 14 degrees alcohol at Croix de Labrie. The pH was around 355, as far as I remember.
Wow.
And the blend, wow, it's fantastic.
Because I can tell you, when I already tasted the wine, and I think it's probably the best Croix de Labrie, because the 19 was a little bit richer, right? Now this is really just so Bordelais, just driven, and the tannins are firm with beautiful length, and there's a freshness. And already the wine's so complex with like the really, what do you say, terrier sort of, terroir character plus the fruits.
Yeah, indeed. And we saw, and even on the blend, 2020 Croix de Labrie, and that's thanks also to Hubert, who really help us, Axel and I, to focus on the Cabernet Franc. And this year on the blend, we had 92% Merlot, but we have 5% Cabernet Franc and 3% of Cabernet Sauvignon. But the Cabernet Franc...
So that's the blend in the Croix de Labrie. You have Cabernet Sauvignon?
Yes.
That's really interesting.
And the Cabernet Sauvignon in Croix de Labrie is really the structure and the part of the art and the aim of the estate, because we have some 100-year-old vines of Cabernet Sauvignon, and we are doing a massal selection with some ungrafted roots. And we have in Pémouton, so just back of the cellar on the Astéries limestone, we have a complantation of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon all together.
Oh, cool. And so you did a co-fermentation then?
Yeah. And it's bringing, the Cabernet Sauvignon gives the structure, but the Cabernet Franc this year make the wines a fantastic purity, which is, it was really an interesting vintage to create, but we saw the deepness of the vintage. And really, we think with Axel that so far, we are reaching a fantastic level, definitely.
It's incredible. And I think that little bit of Cab Franc and Sauvignon is making the difference.
Definitely.
Really tighter. Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. It was not easy to... I know a lot of friends, 2020, we were a little bit scared because due to the lockdown, it was not easy to find people for the harvest. We need to protect everybody, to take care of everybody. But even though I think by staying in your vineyard and trying to do all the things which has to be done, 2020 will keep in the story of the estate because of this fantastic blend, but this conjunction of everything. It's like if you have the purity in the house, the deepness, the richness, and that's the key of the vintage. I think 2020, as far as I know, and I discussed with our friend Jean-Christophe Miro at Tour Saint-Christophe, and we saw that we have a nice purity and freshness into the wine, definitely.
And was production smaller than
No.
19? No, it's the same. Okay.
No, really the same. And as I said, I think the organic estates this year, even if we faced a really deep mildew pressure because of the weather conditions, we did not have these troubles because we spent so much time into the vineyard that we really protect everything, and everything was under control, so with no troubles at all.
Well, it's really fantastic.